Hi and welcome to what must be episode 19 of my Lotus Esprit diary. So we've got the car back from the project shop now, but there's been a problem with the exhaust to how it would fit properly, and when I got it fitted there was an issue. So I'm going to take a look at the exhaust today and see if I can get that fitted properly, and we'll see if it does. So one of the problems has been with this section, the downpipe. So this takes it from the exhaust manifold on the side of the engine to the link pipe that then goes off to the back box. So the first problem that we had with this particular piece was that we got sent a part that had a different fitting on this end. It had a sort of if you like a female fitting. So there were sort of two cups trying to hold each other. So we had to get an olive for that, or they sent an olive for that, but then sort of kind of sorted it out, made it fit. But the exhaust overall wouldn't fit into place. I've got some video of that I'll show you. But that's the ideal opportunity to see the issue with the exhaust there. So what's happened is that we can't quite fit the exhaust in the right place. So those tailpipes are about 2 inches too far to the right. Something to do with the downpipe possibly. So hopefully that will sort it out so that we can get this back box sort of centrally in those two clamps. At the moment it's obviously all to one side. So we've now got the right part with the right fitting of this end. But then what occurred was a problem at the other end on this flange here, which meets the manifold. The first one they sent, well, this is the first one, but the first time they sent this, I fitted it, drove it down the road, and it was blowing. And I thought, okay, I've done something wrong. But when I then took it off, it was clear that this wasn't flat. Clearly it had been flat initially, but then when they did the welding, the heat sort of bowed it slightly. So there was probably about a 3mm difference across the face, which just meant there was no way, even if you couldn't tighten it up, there was no way of getting a good seal onto the, even with the gasket onto the manifold. So I sent it back to the supplier. They were dealing with the manufacturer of it. And the manufacturer said, "Oh, that's how we always leave them. That's fine. You just nip it up tight with the studs, with the bolts and nuts." But I did that and managed to shear off a bolt in the process. And I think that kind of advice seemed to be from when they were producing mild steel exhausts, which are a little bit more pliable than these sort of rock hard stainless steel ones. Anyway, so it went back to that manufacturer. And they linished the sort of face to flatten it off. So they sent it back. I got it back a couple of days ago, and yes, indeed, it's much flatter. But still, there was a little bit of a rise, a little bit of a land in the middle. So there was a slight rock from side to side. I mean, it probably could have been okay. I think it was about 1mm difference across the face. The gasket is 1.5 mm, so maybe that would have taken up some of the slack. But it's a metal gasket, so I wasn't entirely sure how much that would kind of compress into the gap. So, cut long story short, we filed off, just got a flat file and just filed it down flatter. And it's probably still not exact, but it's way less than 1mm difference now. So I'm hoping that should be good to form a sort of a nice kind of gas tight seal between the exhaust and the manifold. So the other thing I did was to get the correct studs to fit the exhaust rather than using the bolts that had been put in by the garage. And I think it was one stud which was too long, left over from the sort of previous owner. So these are the sort of correct length, 41mm overall. I think that's 16 threaded either end and 9 in the middle. So I've got, I actually got 4 of these, but I only need 3. So I've got those, and also got these sort of whiz nuts, just copper flashed with the flange. I've also got a spring washer, so those will go over the top, and they're kind of locking ones. Obviously you can't use nylock locking nuts on an exhaust because they'll just melt and no longer lock. I've got the car up on a jack and a couple of axle stands, and I've taken the rear near side wheel off so I can get better access. It is possible without it, but it just made life a lot easier not doing that. And then that gives me access, if you can see, to the end of the manifold there, and you can see actually the kind of black deposits on the far side where it was blowing through. Now, the way that I found it to work to get everything lined up is to fit the back box first and then making sure that the tailpipes are coming out of the aperture in the right place. So then fix that back box in position, then fit the downpipe and then this link pipe. So this is an aftermarket exhaust without a middle box, so it's just got this link pipe, but this is just loose, so I've slackened it off against the back box there so I can get things moving, and then that can sort of tighten up against it when I'm ready. The reason for fitting the downpipe is that it's got these articulated sections and they're quite stiff, so you can't really, it's really hard to bend them until it's sort of secured into position. So once it's secured into position, then you can sort of angle them up, get enough height on the downpipe to then come down into this link pipe to get everything lined up. Now what I've got to do is to get studs into these 3 holes and then fit the gasket and then get the downpipe into position. So I think I should be able to get the thing on with the studs already in. I just think trying to get the studs in whilst holding the gasket in place and holding the downpipe in place can be just too difficult. So I'll get the studs in first. Now putting them in just sort of by hand, finger tight to start with a little bit of copper slip just to help them on their way in, and hopefully they won't then get stuck. Now this central one seems to be going in pretty well, and I think in fact that's probably all the way in just by hand. These 2 side ones seem a little bit tighter. So I've got 2 nuts on here. The first one is in, and then the sort of second one sort of tightened up against it. So if I now try and tighten the second nut, the outer nut, then it should act against the first one, grip the stud and turn the stud into the manifold. You can see some of these, a couple of these things are a bit awkward to get in. You kind of want 3 hands really. And because this one is really awkward to get to, you can't get to it with a socket because of the pipe next to it. I have to come in on this side, but I'm able to do like an 1/8 of a turn and then I have to swap over the, swap the side of the spanner, so it's sort of, I can get in. Well, I've got the studs and nuts on the manifold done up on that flange, so the downpipe is in, and I managed to wrangle this link pipe to sort of sit nicely between the 2, and I've just got to tighten up these nuts and bolts, and fingers crossed all should be good. So I think that's it for this episode. I've got the exhaust put on and sorted. I've started up the engine and I can't detect any blowing, but I'm going to take it for a drive just to make sure. The sun's out, it's a beautiful day, and just get the Volvo out of the way and off I go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more of this and other cars too. Please like this video and give me a comment, ask me questions, tell me what I'm doing wrong, give me some suggestions, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.